And I'll just start this. Are you there? Hey.
I'm over here. I'm down here on the blue track.
Me faking it is how I am even sitting here right now today.
When you look at my bio and you see producer, credits include Megadeth, you might think, oh, he produced Megadeth.
Broadcasting from Nashville, Tennessee, offering a glimpse inside the music industry, shedding light on things they don't want you to know, and exposing some of the industry's biggest secrets. You're listening to the Turned Up Podcast, presented by Real Sound Productions. Here are your hosts, Jake Jones.
Are you eating something?
And Robert Venable.
No, I was just thinking about eating something because I'm really hungry.
Kind of in the mood for Chick-fil-A.
I am down with Chick-fil-A right now, and it's not Sunday, which means it is open.
I never want Chick-fil-A more than on Sunday.
Because it's the Lord's food.
It is.
And you're like, I have my heart full of sermons. It's time to get my stomach full of chicken. I can't! Not good chicken. I really like their chicken.
Doesn't Chick-fil-A know the Sabbath is Saturday anyway?
Well, I mean, I guess they're in the chicken business. So, I mean, they're not. I just really want food.
Words
are hard.
Words are hard.
It's weird that we're about to embark on a journey that includes nothing but words.
Lots of words.
We should throw them.
I have some words.
Go ahead.
I once shared the stage with Avenged Sevenfold, Metallica, and Guns N' Roses.
Those are some words. And I guess those are words that I hear all too frequently.
That's a true story.
No, technically it is a true story.
Did I play literally the exact same stage? No, not exactly. It was the same festival.
See, I guess I could be standing on a stage, like backstage or side stage, like, hey, currently on stage with blah, blah, blah. Be right back.
Right? So that is an example of, it's a colloquialism that is well known, which is fake it till you make it.
That's what we should call this one. Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. And it happens all the time. And not even just with guys that are trying to make it. Even people that I think for all intents and purposes have made it are still out there faking it from time to time. And sometimes even the media picks up on it.
Yeah. I think it's in all sorts of different realms or industries or businesses that it's something that happens a lot. Like you said, it's not just faking it till you make it. Maybe it's faking it while you're making it, and just continuing to fake it, which we've talked about before. I think our very first episode, music, was it our first episode?
Music, it's all fake?
Yeah. And we talked about that, and this is not what this episode's about. It's not talking about how it's an entertainment industry, so we're here to entertain, whether it's true or not, whatever, it's entertaining, so that's what we're here for. But we're talking more about, I guess, the social aspects and the way things are worded and
You said it earlier, fluffing the numbers.
Yeah, maybe fluffing the numbers, fluffing your resume.
In the music business, it actually is vitally important in some aspects, and now more so than ever. And but it's not really all that different than lying on your resume, saying, I worked 4 years at such and such law firm, when the truth is, yeah, you worked 4 years as their janitor.
Cleaning the toilets.
But you might use a term that sounds more fancy, like executive organizer, you know what I mean?
The H2O distribution engineer.
Right. He the water boy.
Yeah.
You know who a horrible example of faking it till you make it, because
okay, we're all about horrible examples.
He's not faking it and he has made it, is Robert Venable, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm a horrible example of a lot of things. Role model.
It's a horrible example of faking it because he's the real deal. Robert Venable is an award-winning producer, engineer, Grammy Award nominated, Dove winning, gold records galore everywhere.
Galore,
so many. Just has to step over the gold records to even use the toilet because they're just piled up. He's run out of space to.
Is this one of those fluffing the number things? Is it just because my gold record was sitting on the floor in between you and the bathroom, and you had to step over it? You're literally stepping over my gold record.
Who's that gold record for?
That's a Kelly Clarkson record.
For your work with Kelly Clarkson. Not only has he worked with Kelly Clarkson. He's also worked with 21 Pilots, Mute Math, Megadeth, DMX, Rough Riders. If you listen to the show, you hear this every week, and it's so true. And it's amazing, and I'm completely honored to call him my best friend in the whole wide world. Something really cool about Robert is he's recently taken up fiddle lessons, but not just any kind of fiddle lessons, but fiddling while skydiving. It's a new thing, as if being the drummer for As We Ascend wasn't enough, as if touring the world as a multi-instrumentalist, producing some of the best songs and mixing hit records.
But not fiddle.
And writing. In fact, writing number ones. You've got lots of those, but
I'm not the
we
only
wrote,
one.
Produced, engineered.
We did a lot of stuff together.
A hit record together.
We've done a lot of things together.
And we share a number one plaque. But I want to hear more about this skydiving fiddle lessons.
I'm sure you do, Jake, and that's why I'm here to tell you about that right now. Think about this. Picture yourself 10,000 feet above the surface of the land that we live on every day. Gravity is gripping at you, wanting you down closer.
Gravity likes
to
hugs.
the core of the earth. And you're up there with nothing but a parachute and a fiddle. What do? You jump. But while you jump, instead of screaming, "Oh, I'm gonna die!" you start playing The Devil Went Down to Georgia on your fiddle.
Have you learned that one yet?
No, but I mean, who can really tell while you're going plummeting hundreds of miles an hour towards the earth?
Tell me about your instructor.
Oh, well, we're going to get to that. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake Jones, sitting right in front of me.
That was good.
Thank you. That was already planned before you even said that, so that was a good segue. Is sitting before me, sometimes after me, but at 6 foot.
How dare you break wind before me?
Sorry, man, I didn't know it was your turn. So you, Jake Jones. Again, we've talked about every episode. If you say Jake Jones, you have to say Jake Jones. You can't just say Jake.
If you say it 3 times in the mirror with the lights off.
That's Beetlejuice.
Oh, sorry.
And it doesn't have to be the mirror. You just have to say it. Or No Place Like Home with your gold, red, glittery shoes. Not even gold. Glittery red shoes. Ruby red shoes. That's what they are. Then you get to do something fun. So I'm not going to say your name one more time because that'll be 3. And then I don't know what's going to happen.
Wait. You're not going to say...
No, I'm not. Don't trick me.
You're not going to say...
You always trick me.
Your name?
You know what I'm not going to say. You already spilled the beans a little bit about the things that you and I have done together as far as number 1 Billboard charting album that we co-wrote and produced and engineered that you mixed. You have also written other Billboard charting songs. I think I was just looking at the charts the other day and saw a couple that you had your hand on, or your ears on, or your hands and ears on, or your hands on your ears.
That's how I mix. I put my hands on my ears.
I don't want to hear it. What is happening? Buttons. I like the lights. You play guitar, and not just guitar, but bass, and you also sing. But you play guitar and sing in the band As We Ascend, formerly playing the guitar in the nationally recognized Sharing the Stage with Avenged Sevenfold and Metallica. I forgot who else was. We As Human was the name of that band. And that's how we met, actually, because of your fame from that venture. And then you were on Twitter with that little verified check mark. I'm like, I need to know this guy. He's in my town. And then
I saw you had the blue check mark, and I was like, oh, we can be friends now.
We were already friends by that point.
We were, actually.
Yeah, that was the true story. And then you own a recording studio, Incendium Recording Studios down just south of Nashville. And looking around the studio that we're sitting in right now, actually, just all these cool guitars, which I wish I knew how to play. And then you have the awards for Best Rock Artist and Rock Album of the Year. I forgot what they are. All these things.
I don't know. It's your award, too.
They're all a thing. But
it's a shared award.
They're all things. And all the backstage passes and the tour passes. Those are just cool. That's very rock star. But like we alluded to a minute ago, you also teach skydiving fiddle lessons.
I do. So I'm a terrible fiddle player. But, just taking it all back to fake it till you make it. I recently stole some photos from an Italian fiddle player.
Whoa. This is getting all too real.
Posted it on Craigslist that I was giving skydiving lessons. The photos were of this guy's gold records, and I just claimed that they were mine. And for my fiddle playing.
Whoa, this is all too real.
This is going to come up again here in a minute. But anyway, nobody can tell when I'm playing up there. So the wind passes my ears. So I jump out of airplanes and kind of make some scratchy noises on a violin and tell people, do what I do. Follow me.
You only teach while plummeting toward the earth.
In fact, it's the only time I ever play.
We don't even get the hands on, from my point of view, we didn't even get our hands on the fiddle until you're falling. Like, okay, pull it out. And we pull out the fiddles and the stick thing, which you haven't taught me what that's called yet. And we just fall and we're trying to look at each other and we're screaming, what? And you're like, and then you yell, I go, what? And then you go, and you start pointing to the thing, the fiddle, and then the stick thing. And we made music.
That's what it's called. I taught you that. It's called the stick thing.
I didn't get my grades back from my test. I didn't know if that was right or not.
Well, the reason that fiddles have those holes in them is because they double as a drum. And so you flip it over to the side without the strings, and then you hit it with the stick. That's what I was trying to show you.
Got it. Okay, it was hard to understand as we were falling so fast. But what you're saying a second ago about stealing images from the internet and posting them on Craigslist, it's kind of like stolen valor. Like you see those YouTube videos of people wearing fatigues, military fatigues out in public, and then people calling them out like, wait, that badge doesn't match up with that badge. And like that,
we're not comparing ourselves to war heroes.
No, absolutely not. Very far from it. However, sometimes people take pictures or steal pictures from the internet from somebody else's thing that they think, they're in another country. That guy's Italian. No one's ever going to find that I'm using that image. Well, true story, just yesterday, I found an ad on Craigslist for someone teaching guitar lessons. And he had a wall of gold records. And in this big long paragraph where he's selling himself for giving guitar lessons, he's like, I've got over 40 RIAA gold certifications, and I've worked with tons of artists, but he doesn't use his real name. And I'm thinking that's really weird. Either he's embarrassed, but he's posting either embarrassed or he's faking it. But he's posting this picture of all these gold records. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. He's saying he has 40 gold records at least, and then he's posting a picture of, 30 or 40 gold records. I finally put two and two together and reversed image searched that image, which you can do on Google. You can like drag and drop or copy and paste that image into a certain page on Google, and it'll look for that same image or similar ones online. And I found the same image on an Italian producer's website. And like I translated it to English, and it's like, here's some of my recent works. I'm like, this guy's legit. But you can go to allmusic.com, which is like the big resume, a formal resume, and it's not exactly accurate, and it's hard to get in touch with them and correct errors, but they go by the album artwork. So if your name is in the album, they put that on your resume on allmusic.com. I searched this guy's name, which I finally found by doing some internet sleuthing, and I'm like, he has nothing. He has one credit on his AllMusic thing, and none of them are anybody. It wasn't a guy I've known. It wasn't a person who has a gold record. And he's claiming to work with all these big bands. I'm like, okay, maybe he worked with them in the studio, but no, he specifically says he has RIAA certification golds, and he has this wall of golds. So I called him out on it, and I posted his thing and said he's a scammer, and like, don't pay this guy any money. Like, it just got to me because I'm owed credits that I don't have, and people have said they've done things and they haven't. I can't say that I've done certain things sometimes because the artist will check AllMusic and say, well, it doesn't say that you ever worked with that person on there. Right. I'm like, because the label left my name off the credits, which, I mean, if you look on the album, my name's there, or I can show you that I worked on it. I have pictures and video of me in the studio with them working on it, that kind of thing, which you learn how to kind of cover your own tracks that way. But so I called him out, and he's all of a sudden I get a cease and desist thing, like, take this down or I'm going to sue you for defamation, which would not hold up in court if you're an attorney, like he said he was, also, interestingly enough. That would not hold up because what I was saying was true. He was stealing someone else's artwork and pictures. But that's the segue story into what we're talking about today. Faking it till you make it. That's a bad example because he is faking it completely. I
was about to say that's
false.
Just straight up lying. That's false advertising.
That's not the way to go about this. And we don't condone. We're going to go ahead and say, just as a blanketed statement, Jake Jones and I. Oh no, something magical is happening. I said your name 3 times.
Whoa. I never knew that actually happened. I always thought that was a joke. But
told you.
Dang, dude. Feel different now. Still hungry, though.
You look different, too.
Thank you. I'm older. So we do not condone any of the things we're going to say today. However, this is all common practice. I say common, but yeah, fairly common practice. Things that established bands, up-and-coming bands and producers and musicians all do in order to maintain their status or gain status in the industry. And it's become accepted. I don't know if it's true or not. Again, smoke and mirrors, but it's stuff that we do that might not exactly be true to some extent.
I would say it's false by omission in terms of
leaving the details out.
Yeah. And this is your story to tell, so I won't spill the beans, but we were talking about earlier maybe posting content knowing that it's probably going to lead people to believe one thing about it, but you really don't say anything. You just post it.
Okay, so I have two examples of this. One being humorous, the first one. Years ago, when I was relatively new to Twitter, Lester, my old business partner, one of my best friends, the drummer for Kelly Clarkson now, he and I thought it would be hilarious, and it was, and we did this a lot, but people started taking it seriously, to post online, like on the night of, let's say, the Grammys, just for fun. We would be in Nashville, the Grammys are happening in LA. We would post words, like these aren't true, like, what a night to be in town for the Grammys. Or red carpet on the Grammys, ... completely hectic. Or something like that. Or like, how's a guy supposed to find parking around here with all these celebs hanging out near the Grammys? Or something like that. Like one of the things like that, which is all true, but not for us. like
I never said I was there.
Like, yeah, parking by the Grammys has to be horrible. And so like there's that humorous thing we were just doing for fun, and then we weren't lying about it. If anybody's like, you're at the Grammys, like, no, we're sitting at home watching the Grammys. But it was just one of those things like, let's just see what would happen. And then two, there's the way of like, and I do this, and I'm going to say I do this, and I know other people who do this, so I'm going to throw myself under the bus here. I take pictures anytime I'm working in a recording studio with an artist, first of all, to document the experience because it's fun and it's life and their memories. But two, social media is key in what we do. Like you have to stay relevant. I get a lot of work from social media, just bands and artists who find me and have a way to contact me because that's a way to stay in touch with people you ordinarily don't know how to get a hold of. So I try to stay very persistent regular with my posts, especially on Instagram. So I take pictures of everything. And some days when I have nothing to post, which imagine that, our lives aren't glorious every single day. Not that I'm complaining about my life. I'm just saying it's not all rock star. There are times I'm sitting at home on the couch eating cereal and I like post a picture of a piece of recording gear. But if you look at my captions, I don't lie about anything. I say, this rack of gear is glorious. Or here's me looking to the right, which it was. But that picture was months old. And I tag where I took the picture or where the picture was taken. Sometimes my buddies who are in other studios will send me pictures of this gear, and I'll say photo by them or thanks courtesy of them or whatever, and tag that studio that was taken at. And people see it and like, oh, Robert must be in LA working today. Well, Robert was sitting at home in his pajamas, taking a day off or whatever. But I posted something about that in the gear on Instagram about the gear, and it's not misleading. It might be misleading. It's not intentionally misleading. It's intentionally looking busy or giving content. But it's all stuff. It's like stuff that are true. Stuff that I had worked on. Places that I was working on things with. The gear I was touching. The artists I was working with. But I still go back to the archives of years ago and post pictures that I took. And supermodels do the same thing. Look at their outfits. Look at their scenery. And scroll through their Instagram. You're like, oh, you wore that 5 months ago or 5 years ago even. You're just repurposing those pictures. Bands, Metallica, will post images of them from 1987. Like, oh, this was a good show. Or Rockin' Faces or, stuff like that. Every band does it. I do it. A lot of producers I know do it. A lot of musicians I know do it. And I encourage it. I think it's fun. Don't straight up lie and say, in the studio today working with.
Right.
I'm like, that's lying. But I'll put like, studio life is my favorite or something. I don't know, stuff like that.
It's so true. And I think a big portion of what we do as producers also kind of, it very much moves into the realm of artist development. And that's something that I'm always telling my artists to do is take lots of pictures. Take lots of pictures while you're in the studio. Take cool pictures of gear because your album's about to move into a point in time when it's going to be getting mixed, it's going to be getting edited, it's going to be
behind the scenes
your release stuff, and there's not going to be anything exciting. You're going to be sitting at home or working on your day job or whatever you're doing while you're waiting on this record to come out, and you're going to need to be posting content and getting people amped about it. So take way more pictures than you think you'll ever need right now, and slowly leak them out over the next couple of months to build anticipation. So that's just smart. That's just smart marketing. But there's something psychological about humanity and our idea that, oh, other people want this, therefore I want it. iPhone's a great example of that.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. And that's true. They're called sheep.
Yeah.
They follow the flock, or lemmings even, where one jumps off the cliff, and then the next one, and then the next one. Like everybody else is doing it. There must be something to this.
And it's, I see it specifically with Apple, where, Android users will make fun of Apple users, and there's funny advertisements and all kinds of things where, iPhone users are just like dumb, brainless sheep.
Yeah.
The truth is,
I use an Apple product all the time, by the way. I'm an iPhone user.
I am as
all
well.
my computers are Macs.
But the truth is, that's a great survival mechanism. I mean, if you're the only person on planet Earth using one particular brand of phone, good luck getting any kind of customer service or ever getting help with it or getting it replaced or fixed or whatever. But that's not the point. The point is that sort of, marketing firms in general know this about people.
If 5 million people are using that must be good.
Yeah, there's I don't want to spoil names because I can't say that I know 100% that this is fact, but I'm personally very certain. So there's a very, very, very famous country artist who he or she got big on YouTube, and they exploded, millions of views, went viral, and as a result, kind of the Cinderella story, wound up signing a record deal and is now on tour all over the world, owning the country music market.
Dang.
And come to find out that it was all, I won't say a farce, but they got signed a long time ago before their YouTube situation, and the label really propped them up, made it look like they had gone viral. And then, and then what happened was everyone saw, oh, everybody else likes this artist. I guess I need to know who this is. And if everybody else thinks this is good, then I guess this is good. So I will decide to like this. And then once they had the real fan base that had kind of swapped out for that fake one that had been purchased, then they were ready to go on tour. And I think it's actually, as a record label, I think that's a genius sort of artist development way to utilize the technology that we have now and where people discover artists, where people find artists.
And it's tough, though, because it's a fine line to walk. And you said purchasing, which we'll talk about in a second.
It's a little disingenuous, I think.
But it stinks because the algorithms that the social media outlets use are often based off of interaction, which you can purchase. You can purchase likes, you can purchase followers, you can purchase even comments, auto comments. So anytime you post a picture, there'll be X amount of comments on that picture or something. And so when you do that, your pictures are displayed to more profiles to potentially see your pictures and gain real fans. But if you don't have the fans to begin with, it's kind of a catch-22 because it's not going to be shown to anybody. And it's...
Right.
So to play the game, a lot of bands and musicians and artists and labels and management companies and just everybody in every business you can think of are purchasing interactions, followers, fans, likes, retweets, all that stuff, all of which you can buy online. Again, we're not saying we condone it, but sometimes it's a necessary evil. And then once the traction gets there, like you were saying, people see, oh, wow, this person has 10,000 followers. They obviously must be a guitarist I need to follow.
Yeah.
Because why would these 10,000 people be following them? So I guess I'll give it a like and find out. And then suddenly those fake followers fall off because they're bots or they get busted or the Instagram runs an algorithm that
shuts down their accounts,
clears out the cobwebs, and the new ones replace it. So now you have 10,000 real followers, which just snowballs. And that is real life. And oftentimes, like, people are overusing it. Like, you see someone with 100,000 followers and then 8 likes on a picture. You're like,
right.
Well, okay, that doesn't add up quite right.
Or, 20 pictures and they're all really bad.
And like profile buying and selling is a thing. People will like build up a profile with 100,000 real followers, and you can buy them online and then change it from a fitness site to a band site. And suddenly your band, who just showed up out of nowhere, has 100,000 followers. They're real followers, expecting fitness posts, but they're real followers there. And all of a sudden you have an account that's either verified or about to be verified or whatever.
Yeah, well, and I'll be the first to tell you, I hate social media.
Do you?
I do. I don't like being on there. I don't like, because it's so fake. And
it's a toilet bowl of any kind of news outlet.
It
or
is.
a population. It's just people just hanging out there, just bashing each other because of the anonymity on it. And you can say anything you want to. You can be anybody you want to be.
Safe, and it's a big popularity contest. And
it is all fake, man.
And there's lots of, I've actually read studies about this before as well, that, come springtime, the rate of suicide and depression goes up, which is surprising, right? Because
I would think winter would be worse.
You would think, but come springtime, so-and-so spent 2 days, on a work trip in Florida, but had an hour lunch break where they went to the beach and did kind of what we're talking about, took 1,000 pictures during that hour, and then for the next 2 weeks, post those pictures slowly
or
but
2
surely.
months, either way.
And so then it just looks like they're living this glorious life in spring on the beach.
Yeah.
And suddenly that's amplified hundreds or thousands of times. You open up your feed and you see that. And what winds up happening is most people think, oh, well, I can't afford to go to the beach and spend 2 weeks. I can't do that. My life is not as awesome as everybody else I follow.
Right.
And so then you feel bummed.
You
or
feel like you're
jealous,
failing.
And the truth is, most people feel that way. And even the people posting those pictures feel that way.
Yeah.
And to them, they're just competing with everyone else who's posting those pictures because they think those pictures are real, and even though they know theirs aren't. And it's just this cycle. And it's a real, you can look it up. It's a real study that's been done, and it's very true. And I have people in my life that have taken their lives, and sure enough, springtime,
Dang, man.
stuck at home, can't afford to go do anything fun, vacation-y, while everybody else is posting all their fun vacation photos, and it makes you feel. So anyway, so I think that was a tangent, but I think social media can be a toilet bowl.
Yeah.
But all that said, we get lots of clients through social media. And
we do.
It's a necessary evil.
And it's not just for, not for just up and comers. And it's not just for like to play the game, not to fake it till you make it, but fake it while you're making it. I can think of a couple of bands that, one of which I've worked with, but another just I know, that are, top of the charts, world record breaking top of the charts, Hall of Fame musicians, that level, like the top, the creme de la creme, like the very most superstarish person you can think of, who are buying retweets and likes and fan followers and stuff like that. Because to the average listener and the average soccer mom and the average baby sister and high school kid or retired Walmart greeter or whatever it may be, listening to music, if they happen to be on Twitter or Instagram and see that the best of the best out there tweets something and only 18 people like it, wow, they must be failing. So their labels have, I'm guessing, or the people who do that, or a PR company.
It's the labels, and I'll tell you a story here in a second.
Set up these companies that every time they tweet something, no matter what it is, it needs to have X amount of likes fast. And a lot of those are fake, and a lot of them are real. But I know that sometimes being associated with those artists, one in particular that I've worked with, all of a sudden, if I post that name, I get 1 million fake followers for with their band abbreviation, or I'm in love with the singer from that band as their profile thing, but they have no other tweets, or they're in a different language and you translate them and it's just like, hey, buy this weight loss supplement.
Right.
Like they're all fake followers, but it's things to make anybody who tweets about that feel like, oh, wow, look at how super fan they are or whatever for this band. This band is huge, which they are, but they're creating a fake image. But they've already made it. They've already got the gold and platinum records. They've already got the sales, unless you can somehow fake those.
Well,
What were we gonna say?
so it really is just marketing. It's marketing. We as Human in 2014.
And this was the band that you previously played with.
Yes. So we were signed to Atlantic Records, and we needed a touring vehicle, and we wanted a bus.
Of course. Rockstar life, bro.
Because we were doing a lot of touring.
And convenience.
And when you live in the vehicle that you drive around in, and it's a van, that your quality of life suffers to a point where it can become physically unhealthy.
I didn't even like being on the bus.
Yeah, bus life is much harder than I think anybody thinks it is.
I mean, it's cool for like a day.
No,
For the Instagram pictures.
So we did a Kickstarter and raised a fair amount of money. We were able to not only buy the bus that we wanted, but we also were able to pay to have it renovated. But our label, Atlantic, looked at the situation like, wait. You are signed to a major record label. What is this doing for your reputation, having to crowdfund for this? That could look bad. And they were getting ready to shell out the money to do it for us and just make it recoupable.
Which means give you a loan for it.
Exactly.
Force you to take a loan on it.
Because they didn't want to look bad, but they didn't want us to look bad. And they would rather their band driving around in a tour bus as though we just were making so much money on the road that we could afford it. And again, because it's all perception.
Right.
And that's what faking it till you make it's all about. And that's not always just to the fans. That can be to music industry executives as well. There's something that bands have called an EPK.
Electronic press kit.
So back in the day, you had a press kit that it was literally a folder or a binder that you would mail in.
Yeah, I heard stories of a band getting signed, sending a press kit in a pizza box to Tooth and Nail Records. So that way they'd see it and stick out. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool, actually. Let's take a listen to this demo. Anyway, as you were saying.
No, Pete Gambarg, actually, he's the VP and head of A&R at Atlantic, was telling us a story about artists would send in boom boxes with cassette tapes. Preloaded, ready to go. And you just open up the boom box and hit play. Already had the batteries in it. If you don't know what a boom box is, Google it. But these press kits are essentially hey, look what we've done. And those are what bands send out to show promoters to try to get booked for tours, festivals, but they also send it to anyone in the music industry that they're trying to say, hey, look at us.
Sponsorships, clothing companies, radio guys.
Yes, the whole nine.
Everything.
And so that's a place where you really see a lot of shared the stage with.
So
and
you need to dive into that.
Yeah, it's very common practice for, 2008, I was in a band.
Yeah.
And Sonic Bids, which is they're actually a website that hosts electronic press kits. That's their main thing.
Like a big monster.com job resume site, except for bands. Just nothing but like, check out these bands. If you need to hire a band, you go there. If you want to be a band that gets hired for a concert or a gig or whatever, you put your thing up there.
Yeah, Sonic Bids. You should check it out. But so Sonic Bids was holding a competition, and the Christian Festival Association was putting on the competition. Sonic Bids was hosting it. And all across the country, bands submitted to play the festivals in their region. And these were big festivals. These were big 3-day, 100, 200,000 plus attendance festivals. Gigantic.
Sure.
And in our particular region in the Southwest, I was living in New Mexico, we had Rock the Desert, and there were probably 10 bands that submitted, and we were one of them. Me being a producer and kind of having this fake it till you make it mentality, I absolutely fluffed us up. I went to our MySpace, we custom designed it, and did everything we could to look great and sound great, even though we may not have been that great. And sure enough, we won the regional competition and went and played this festival. So the winners played the pre-opening slot. I think the first band of the day was The Wedding, and so we played right before them.
Arkansas Boys.
We got a 30-minute slot, and then that was it. and then we came to Nashville, played a label showcase. But you better believe that for the next, as long as we were a band, our EPK as well as any bio anywhere we had online said, shared the stage with, list every band that was on that stage that day.
That was somehow recognizable.
Yeah. So I think Skillet played that day. Audio Adrenaline played that day. Red, I know, played that day. So we shared the stage with all these bands.
Yeah.
None of those bands knew who we were. Nobody, but to the average fan and to anyone else looking around, it was definitely impressive to see.
Dude, one of my favorite things is when I see a band, like their bio on their website or whatever it may be, and it said, our album was produced by fill in the blank of a producer. And then right next to that producer in parentheses is all the big bands that producers worked with. Like our album was just produced by blah, blah, blah. And then it'll say like
Robert Venable.
Then it'll say big names there.
In parentheses, it'll say Kelly Clarkson.
Oh, shut up. So,
21 Pilots.
But when in reality, if that producer is available and that producer and that band has the money to pay the producer's fees, the producer will work on your stuff as long as it's workable. I mean, I've turned down, you've turned down, we've all turned down projects where like there's nothing to see here. We can't help this. There's only, you can polish a turd, it's still a turd. It's just a shiny turd. You can't do things with every project, but I mean, you can hear the potential. You can listen to demos and like, okay, I can fix this. It's going to cost this, and if they pay this, we'll fix it, and we'll make it music, make it make sense. So them saying, "Oh man, yeah, we just got out of the studio with blah blah blah," and that person's worked with fill in the blank. I don't know, whatever the biggest bands are these days.
Yeah. What all the kids are listening to
Ariana
these days.
Grande and Garth Brooks, right? No.
Yeah, he came back out. He came out of
Oh, he
retirement.
is touring still.
Yeah.
Whatever. Worked with all these huge people. It's like, and we're next. Like, well, okay, yeah, you paid them.
So that actually is very impressive, especially to radio. That was something, again, with We As Human that we found. We'd worked with Howard Benson.
Which is a huge producer.
And that was a question we got a lot was, what was it like working with Howard Benson? And, I won't say here on the podcast, but we actually didn't work much with Howard Benson.
That's weird.
That's how Howard Benson works.
You were in his studio, though.
Was in his studio.
He's got great assistants.
He is the producer on the project, but
That's what they say.
his engineer is who we worked with. But the what's even funnier is you'll see, worked with Fred Smith, and then parentheses, I don't know, Metallica, Jennifer Lopez,
makeup stuff,
Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, because
they all work the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, that guy was an intern at the studio that produced those records. And now he's got a home studio of his own. And that's a perfect example of faking it till you make it. Sure. Yeah. That guy, I guess, is associated with those.
And I'm guilty as charged with this because, and anybody who knows me, knows that this story, I have told it before, maybe even on air, I can't remember. But my very first credit was with Megadeth. And my very first credit was not me producing Megadeth. Like, I am a producer. That's what I do for a living. I produce, I mix, I engineer. But I did not produce Megadeth, ever. I never have. But my bio says producer, credits include, which if you look up, I do have credits with Megadeth and blah, blah, blah. My very first credit was with Megadeth. I was an assistant engineer on that project. I did some background vocals on that project, and I did some engineering at times and some editing and stuff, engineering on that project when Jeff Balding would leave the studio, the guy who did produce and engineer most of that record. And I got credits for that, and if it ever goes gold, I'll get a gold record for that. But when you look at my bio and you see producer, credits include Megadeth, you might think, oh, he produced Megadeth. I need him to produce my record. I'm like, well, yeah, I might be able to do a good job at it because of my years of experience doing hard rock and metal, but it's not because I produced Megadeth. You know what I mean? So and that's not misleading on purpose, but that is, I know that people do that, and there are other credits that I have that I say, yes, I've worked with this band, this band, this band, this band, this band, because they're recognizable names, but you don't know what I did. And I remember feeling fooled once with an engineer I worked with. I looked up to and saw like, oh wait, all he did was tune the vocals on that record. I'm like, oh, I thought he was like the man on that record. He said he engineered on that. That's weird.
He did. He engineered on it. Yeah. He was an engineer. Yeah.
I mean, I've worked on records with huge names that I've never even met the people.
Well, so me faking it is how I am even sitting here right now today.
Which is not fake. You've done well for yourself, and your accolades definitely speak to your level of success in this industry.
So I'm going to make a case for why faking it till you make it is not always a bad thing.
All right, yeah, let's spin it that way.
So first of all, you do have to be able to back up your abilities.
Yeah.
You do have to be able to be as good as you claim to be.
Sure.
And you have to be willing to put in the work. It's like if I'm trying to get a job as an engineer for NASA, but I don't know how to math, which I don't. Well, I'm not going to try to get a job for NASA, but you better believe that I'm going to be doing everything I can to learn everything I can about mathing.
Okay.
Before I get that job, while I'm trying to get hired for that job.
I see. Yeah.
And if NASA does hire me for that job, I have to be able to back up what I claimed on my resume that I could do, because on my resume I claimed I'm a good mather.
I'm so good at math. I'm the best at maths.
Beth at math.
I'm the best at math.
That's weird. I'm never going to get a job for NASA. But all that said, that is what that's how I wound up in We As Human. I was living in Portales, New Mexico. You can find it on a map if you look really hard, if you have a magnifying glass.
Or if you're on a plane that crashes randomly in the middle of nowhere. Or in the Bermuda Triangle. That's where they output all the ones who disappear. They all show up there somehow in Portales.
So, no, I love Portales. I loved growing up there, and it's a great place. But my point being, it really is in the middle of nowhere, and there's no reason anyone should know where it is, or its claim to fame for a while was the Valencia peanut capital of the world, and then now they don't even do that. But all that being said, this band from North Idaho was looking for a guitarist, and they had some pretty specific requirements, and I didn't match any of those. So I've said that before, but one of those requirements was they wanted a nice tour ready rig,
which means like
professional amp, of high quality, pedals, pedal board. Like, just don't be an idiot. Know what you're doing.
Sure, makes sense.
I had no clue what I was doing. Literally, I had never owned a tube amp a day in my life. I didn't know anything about tube amps.
You didn't play tube. You needed a guitar amp, Jake.
So, and if you don't know what that is, it's like any high quality amplifier uses vacuum tubes to produce the nice sound. And as a general rule of thumb, solid state or digital or amps that don't have tubes are usually a lot less expensive, a lot easier to maintain, but don't sound as good.
They sound different.
I was about to say, that's the general consensus.
Agreed.
True or not, it's all subjective. But
sure.
Regardless, I didn't have anything these guys were looking for. I was not that good of a guitar player. I had been really my biggest claim to fame was that one band that we played that one festival date. And
because you shared the stage with all those huge bands.
The end of that story is we come to Nashville, play a label showcase, and it was a big label group here in Nashville, and they had representatives from each of the three labels underneath, as well as people from their radio department, A&R department, and they all had these sheets that they filled out to grade our performance on all different aspects. And we got 15 minutes. We got to play 2 songs, and then they gave us their scorecards afterwards. And I think we had an average rating of 4
on a scale from
1 to 10.
Okay.
And the bottom of one of the pages said, "You might really want to pray about this and see if this is truly what you should be doing with your life." I'm not lying. I still have those scorecards. They're in the studio.
I was once told by someone I was working with that I should move back to where I came from. It's okay. Not everybody makes it in Nashville. He was right.
So that was my most professional experience in the music industry up to that point. with my crate solid state 212 that I think every guitar player had at one point when they were starting off. And that's what I had the day I sent my first email to We As Humans saying, hey, I'd like to join your band. Granted, at that time, they were doing nothing. They had lost a potential record deal with a Christian label here in Nashville. They had no new material on the horizon, no tours booked, no management. It was kind of bleak, but they were wanting to give it a good go. And I said, yes, here's my resume. And I emailed them all this big professional sounding stuff, shared the stage with blah, blah, blah. And it got me a call back. And after about a month worth of conversations with different band members and them telling me, like, are you really sure you want to do this? We really have nothing going on. And we really like you and you sound like you know what you're talking about, but we really, like, it's pretty stark on our end and you're jumping into something. We can't fly you up to Idaho for rehearsals. Like, hope you have some money. Which I never actually paid out of pocket for a ticket.
You win.
Another story for another day. But all that said, I got the gig. Justin Forshaw and I both on the same day got phone calls saying, hey, we would like you guys both to be our new guitarists. And February 15th, 2010.
Wow.
But that being said, what did I do? I locked myself in my room and learned every We As Human song that they had at the time, forwards and backwards, up and down. I hopped on Craigslist and found a tube amp that was within my budget, which was not a very big budget. And it actually is still sitting right there in my studio. I still use it, in fact. But I bought some pedals and a pedal board so that I at least looked like I knew what I was doing with them. And jumped in head first. Of course, a month later, we get an email saying, hey, Skillet really likes your stuff. John Cooper works out to you guys' songs. Why don't you come to Nashville? Let's talk about maybe a management deal and a record deal, and the rest is history. But I totally faked it. And then I had to do the work to be able to back up my claims that,
sure,
no, I know what I'm doing. Of course I know what I'm doing. And I really didn't. But that's...
Dude, with the Megadeth record that I was working on, I remember showing up at the studio and they go, do you know Pro Tools? Which at the time I was not very familiar with. I knew a little bit of. I didn't know my way around it very well. I could fake it. So I said yes, and then straight up lied, and then went home that night and got on my dial-up internet and downloaded the manual to Pro Tools and just printed it off and memorized it. Like, highlighted all the shortcut commands and like the basic editing things. So when I went the next day, they had me editing old Megadeth records, cleaning them up and stuff to be remastered. I kind of knew what I was doing and didn't embarrass myself, and learned the basic recording shortcut keys. So when Jeff Balding would leave the studio and I had to engineer Dave Mustaine's guitar solos or vocal cuts, I knew what I was doing and they wouldn't be waiting on me. And so yeah, faked that one, and then made it through it and got hired a lot because of that. But
there's just so many great examples of that. There's a band that, here's another one you see a lot. Live performance videos.
Oh, okay. And this kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about in our very first episode of Turned Up. That's how it's all fake.
And I think I actually told this story. I think I told this exact story, but I was working with a band in the studio. They had a concert and a professional videographer came out, filmed the concert, and there were a few occasions where the videographer panned to the crowd. And there were a solid 10 people in that crowd. And it was depressing. But on stage, the band was killing it. It looked great, cool lights, smoke, the whole nine. It was awesome. And so I told him, hey, this part looks great. This part, not so great. Because what does it do? It tells everybody that watches the video, oh, they're not very popular. I'm not interested.
Yep.
So what did they do? They had their videographer go on to Shutterstock, download stock footage of large crowds.
Googling crowds yelling at band.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And that video is very popular. It's up right now. You can find it on YouTube. And every crowd shot is not their crowd. It's a stock crowd. But it makes it look like they were playing to thousands of people instead of 10. And that tells people consciously and subconsciously a lot about this band. Like, oh, they're playing big shows. Oh, they're very popular. They're making big waves, everywhere they go. We need to have them. Because at the end of the day, money. People want money. Radio stations want money. Shows want money. They want people to come.
Yeah.
And so they want to attract bands that are going to attract a crowd. And so if it looks like you have a big crowd, then good chance you'll be able to attract a big crowd here. And it's fake it till you make it. Not
even so much in only in live music and performances in real life. There's also instances of faking it. We've talked about this a lot on the show. In recordings, but like sometimes the guitar player may not quite be up to chops yet, but have the opportunity to record a session player playing the solo in the middle of the song that he just couldn't quite get, or the producer will do it for him, and then like he'll have to learn it by the time it comes around to the live performances. But you're faking it, running off that record, people are going, oh man, you killed that. And sometimes he even gets the credit, and sometimes he'll even say, yes, that was me playing that guitar solo. Even as a producer and a person who's overdubbed stuff drum-wise or whatever that I'm capable of doing, I've said, you can tell people this is you. I don't give a flip. However, just know back in the back of your head who really played this.
And in the interest of the success of the artist, a lot of times it's important that people believe that this is you. Mm-hmm. But you better either learn it or figure out something else to do right there. Because if you get up on stage and bomb this,
that's
going to be
done.
really bad.
You are done. Also, something that's been interesting to me, and I've weighed heavily on my mind that I've wanted to share with, like the rock star life, okay? Fake it till you make it. Like you have to live, and we talked about social media already, that lifestyle where your fans think you are the rock star, you are the idol, quote unquote, which I hate that. But you are everything that we've imagined you'd be. We don't think of you sitting at home eating McDonald's or having to go to Target and pick up toilet paper or driving a beat up car. You know what I mean? They're thinking, and there are certain genres of music who preach this a lot more than others, where they're like talking about Raris that they're driving in the millions of stacks of cash that they don't have yet. Maybe they will. But a lot of that is fake it till you make it. You want the people to think, oh man, this guy's got a Ferrari. Oh man, this guy's got more than one Ferrari. Or this rock band, man, they go back home and sitting in their mansions. And we've talked about this a little bit. But you don't expose that part of your life in all aspects. There's a level of humility that either is or is not there. That these bands that you look up to, some of them do have the Raris, the Ferraris, and some of them do have the mansions, and some of them don't eat McDonald's or go to Target because they have people to do that for them. Here, eat that French fry for me because it looks really good, but I can't have the calories. But like, and you've been humble and talked about, like you were touring the biggest stages and playing the awesome venues and literally sharing the stage with big bands, not like opening up for them 15 hours earlier on a different part of the park, and then coming back and having to work a day job to keep your family's bills paid.
But you better believe I wasn't posting pictures from my restaurant job on my social media. It was, it was those professional photographer photos that they would send in that I would post literally from the break room or while I was taking a break from scrubbing dishes.
Yeah, and I think on some level, most people on social media will do the same. They don't want to post the non-glorious moments of their life at all times.
But yeah, so faking it till you make it. So it's whenever you see a new band on the scene, just know that a lot of thought and effort and energy has gone into those really nice photos and videos and those pictures you see. They could have been from 6 months to a year ago.
Staged, candid videos and photos too.
Yep.
Like, oh, I didn't see you over there. That's weird.
And it's kind of a necessary evil in today's world and society because fads come and go so quickly. You have to kind of try to make yourself look like a fad in order to become a fad.
Yeah, that's true. It's sad but true. And it's the game that we play, Jake. It's what we do.
And at the end of the day, your quality will speak for itself, regardless.
Right. If you can't back it up and you have no real product to deliver, after all the hype and all the marketing and all the commercials, if it's just not going to work, then you won't get hired again. You won't be playing the stage with anybody, maybe just for your mom. And then and you won't be hired to produce records because you're not producing quality product. And you can only fake people out a certain amount of times before like word gets out there, word goes around, and it's fast in this business for sure.
And stealing someone else's photos of their gold records and
don't
putting them on
steal
Christ, like that's lying. That's outright just.
And we can fact
false
check
advertisement.
a lot of this stuff. And like, yeah, we fact check and say, hey, these people said they shared the stage. We probably know they opened for them 15 hours earlier. We've been around long enough to know that. And you can see that. I'm like, okay, they weren't lying. They did that. We understand that. But to say like you have 40 gold records and posting a picture of someone else's gold records, that's just jacked up. And I called him out on that guy, man. I haven't emailed the guy in Italy yet to tell him this guy's stealing his credentials, which I should probably let him handle it.
Policing the world, one liar at a time.
One figure at a time. Add that to my resume.
Well, if you have any questions, you can, of course, go to turneduppodcast.com and reach us that way. But we are on and active on our social media at Turned Up Podcast on Instagram and Twitter.
Or facebook.com/Turned Up Podcast. We're there too.
And we love hearing from you. We love show ideas. We love getting your thoughts. Please, if you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify or
Google Podcasts, that's the thing now.
if you're listening to this at all, whatever you're listening on, go in.
How are you hearing if you're not listening to this right now?
Leave us a rating
We're curious.
and review, please. It helps us tremendously. 5 stars if you love it. 5 stars if you hate it.
Yeah, it only lets you do 5 stars. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that helps us reach more people. It helps us be heard. It allows other people to see like, oh, people like this podcast.
And one thing that we could fake that we don't is leaving ourselves positive reviews and ratings. We were only able to leave ourselves 1. So if you guys have to do the rest for us.
iTunes actually does a pretty good job of keeping you from doing that. I learned you can go in, if you go in and try to leave a second review,
Yeah.
it only lets you change your first
Previous review? Oh, that's smart. Good. Okay, great.
Not because I was trying to leave us multiple reviews.
Weird. We were just talking about it for no reason. Just making sure other people can't.
Isn't that weird?
Isn't that weird?
Huge thank you to Real Sound for giving us this platform, and a huge thank you to our patrons. If you would like to become a patron and support this podcast, you can go to turneduppodcast.com, look in the top right corner, and click the button that says Become a Patron. We'll let you in on the super secret, super exclusive Turn Up Podcast Facebook group. I think it's called the Turn Up Podcast Underground, where we discuss cool things that we're up to, share little behind the scenes secrets, as well as release some stories and unheard episodes or unedited episodes.
Yeah. A huge shout out to our newest patron. I'm not going to name them all anymore, or like a handful of them. It takes forever. But I don't even know how to say this. It's YITYZT is the username. I believe it's a friend of ours named Rob. But he is our newest patron. So shout out to you, buddy.
What's up, man? Thank you so much. And to the rest of you, you keep us going from week to week. We love you so much. And we can't wait to come back. And
we have to get some chicken, Jake.
I'm so hungry.
I need chicken right now.
My brain are melting.
I don't even need chicken. I just need something like kangaroo. I don't know, rodents,
Fried kangaroo.
kitty litter.
Ooh, no, don't eat that.
No,
Trust me. You can trust me on this one.
I've never tasted kitty litter. Hopefully, I don't. Not on purpose, anyway.
I used to eat fistfuls of cat food when I was a kid.
I did that. The X's and O's.
Oh, yep.
What was it called?
Meow
Mix. Yeah, those were good.
Oh, Meow Mix is the best.
I learned what goes into those.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about it next week, but until then,
This is Nashville signing out.
peace.